This month's spirit practice is part of a larger series where we focus on the elements. Today we are focusing on the element and the energy of air. And I will give you some information about our connection with the air and then a practice that you can do, a journey you can do to become more deeply connected with the elements of air. And so shamanic practice is all about relationships. Relationships with the spirit world, the natural world, relationships with our bodies, relationships with the whole heart of humanity. We are in a relationship with all of this in shamanic practices. And when we're in a relationship, we can really hear what's being asked of us. We can hear the requests from the earth, from the elements, and we can also hear the information, insight, guidance, and wisdom that's ready to come through. There's an abundance of it that's out here in the elements, just waiting to reach us. And so I spoke in the Earth Elemental episode about the energy of the medicine wheel, which is known to indigenous folks as the sacred hoop or the sacred circle, and how within that wheel, all aspects of life are explained. And so one of the aspects of life has to do with the energy of air, or the element of air. And I want to talk about some of the practical applications of air and then some of the spiritual elements of air, because there are so many aspects of it. And we often overlook the importance of the air in our everyday life. So bottom line, as I take a breath, the bottom line is that we don't breathe, we don't live. You can go for a little while without food, you can go a little while without water, but you cannot go very long without air. Your life force ceases to flow and stops flowing pretty quickly if you don't have air to feed you. So air actually feeds you. It's food for your body. Your breath moves through you and air oxygenates your bloodstream. So this is a fundamental, important knowing about the energy and the element of air. It's needed for our bodies. And there's so much more that we can do to communicate with it, to increase its presence in our lives, and to listen to the spirits of the air as they are talking to us. So we also know that air feeds the fire. You know, it's interesting with the elemental energies. They stand alone, but they also have this beautiful interconnected web where they relate with one another. So air feeds the fire. The fire actually can't grow without air. And so physically, air feeds the fire. From an elemental lens, and physically, air feeds our own fire inside of us. And there are some specific traditions, I'm thinking of some yogic traditions where the breath is sped up or worked with in a way that it really cultivates and invigorates the fire and the life force inside of us. So we can really engage with air through the breath to open and expand our awareness, our hearts, our bodies, and our knowings. When we bring more air in, it calms us down and relaxes us. When we restrict the amount of air that comes in, we get nervous, we get tense, and energy stops flowing. So we have this direct relationship with air all the time. It's usually unconscious though, but through paying attention to the way the air comes in and how we utilize it through our breath and our bodies, we can be more conscious and intentional about it. So that's a little bit about our own personal connection with air. And then if we look out into the larger world, birds fly in the air. Without the air in the wind, birds would not be able to fly. So the birds are in a complete partnership with the air. They're in a relationship all the time with the air, feeling it, understanding it, knowing how to ride the tide or the flow of the air, which is something that the birds can teach us and something that we can learn from paying attention more to the air itself. And speaking of the birds on the wind, more air-related elements. The wind will often cover the tracks and the smells of an animal on a path or outside. The wind, the air, carries the scent of the predator or the prey. So information can be translated and transmitted through the elements of air, through our senses, through what we hear and smell. And I know you're not worrying about being tracked by predators. At least probably not. But know that it's important in the life cycle and within the natural world to be keen to the energies of air and to use the energy, work with the energy of air to sense danger and also sense where you can get your next meal. So the air, importance of the elements of air in the natural world. The air can also tell us when a storm is coming. The air and the wind are very informative. They inform us. Whether we pay attention to it or not is up to us, right? But very informative. So we're getting an idea of the importance of the air and what it carries. Through connecting more deeply with the air, you can learn how to increase your senses as well. And we can do that more specifically through connecting with a spirit helper that's related to the air. I'll talk about that in a minute. A few spiritual connections or indigenous connections with the air. You will probably see or probably have seen prayer flags. A lot of people understand prayer flags to hold prayers. But the concept of a prayer flag is that the prayers that are on the flags are taken out and delivered through the wind. And as the prayer flag gets more tattered, the prayers are known to be really going out onto the earth through the wind. And when prayer flags are really tattered, they've been, well prayed, or the prayers have really went out. A lot of prayers have went out into the earth and into the wind. Another aspect of air is that it carries the energy of burning herbs like sage or sweetgrass or mugwort. So the herbs and plants of themselves are powerful. They're of the earth. But when we allow the energy of the air to carry them, the wind or the air will spread that medicine to us and through us. Air also carries the vibration of the drum, because the vibration of the drum, it goes into our bodies, but it also goes into the wind and the air, and we feel it and hear it because of the energy of the air. And music is used for healing and to shift vibrations, as we know. And also the practice of aromatherapy, burning different oils or working with different scents, is directly reliant upon the element of the air. If we couldn't smell and breathe, which is all about air, we would not have a need to have aromatherapy. So just a few sort of spiritual or indigenous connections with the element of air that you may not have thought about before. Another aspect of the air is that our voice and our sound travels through it. And through our voice and our sound, we can lay prayers and offer healing. And so the wind and the air carry our prayers for healing through it. So sound and music travel through air. And air also blows and spreads seeds to keep plant species alive, which brings food and nourishment and medicine to the people. So air has a really quiet, although sometimes not so quiet, but a quiet role in keeping us alive and thriving and moving energy. If we're going to look sort of like at an alchemical or through an alchemical point of view or a metaphysical lens, The element of air has to do with the power of our mind and our thoughts. And there's a lot that we can actually do to work with our mind and our thoughts through working with the energy and the element of air. Which brings me to our next piece, but I forgot one. One of the really foundational pieces of working with air, qualities of air, is that the air moves through us, through our breaths, and we breathe life force through us. And that life force that we breathe can be used for healing. It can be used for clearing. It can be used for different types of energy work, for moving energy. So that piece I wanted to mention because that's directly connected with air. I do a lot of clearing and cleansing and energy work, shamanic energy work through and with my breath. And I would not be able to do that if I did not have a connection with the air and if the air did not exist. So powerful healing in all the elements, and specifically the air is connected to the breath for healing. And so what we're going to do next, and for our spirit practice today, is to work a little more closely with the element and the energy of the air. Many ways to do this, but what I'm going to ask you to do today is to drop into your journey space, use your regular protocol of grounding, centering, shielding, and filtering, and take the intention into the journey to connect with an ally that is of the air, and that can teach you about the wind and the air and your connection with the wind and the air. And as you explore and go on that journey, you may meet a being that presents itself as a winged one or a bird, or you may experience a being who appears a little more amorphous and cloud-like. You may experience a being that is just a spirit of the wind and takes on a physical form, but they really are the energy of the air or the wind. You may experience a bird spirit. An ally of the air is what your intention is. You're going to intend to meet with an ally of the air. And once you do that, so that's your focus, that's the spirit practice. Once you do that, focus on the energy, or connect with the energy. Once you connect with an ally of the air, you can engage that ally in asking how you can listen better. You can engage that ally in learning or teaching you about how to ride the tides of your mind. You can engage that ally in how to work more closely with your breath and sound for healing. Any of the aspects of air that I spoke about a moment ago can be more readily understood when you have a ally who can interpret and help you engage with air. Okay, so you've got it now. Working with and understanding the energy of air, your spirit practice is to take a journey to an air ally who can teach you about the wind, teach you about your connection to air. And if you want to do a second journey, ask them to teach you how your connection with the air affects you and what you need to learn right now from your connection with the air. Okay, so that's it for now. You've got it. Go ahead and experiment with that journey and come back and tell us how it goes for you. Okay, I'll see you soon. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.